These days, unfortunately, we see that there are cartoons so boring and lacking in personality and charisma that we practically have to feel sorry for the kids. Seriously, some of the current cartoons seem to mix stories so gibberish with characters so generic that it doesn't even give you the slightest desire to know what it's about. Apart from that, visually, almost all the drawings look like they were made on the same computer, by the same artist, and that he used the same program to make all the franchises on the same day. But, leaving the lack of creativity of current cartoons aside, let's talk about an old time, about a game based on one of the coolest cartoons that ever painted on television, Animaniacs. I've always liked Animaniacs. It's a completely silly cartoon, but it's one of those that are fun, innovative, and truly funny. In addition, the charisma of the main characters, the Warner Brothers, is enormous. Based on the drawing, this version of the Super Nintendo differs greatly from the version of the game that was released for the Sega console, the Sega Genesis. The difference exists both in terms of graphics and gameplay. Here we control the three Warner Brothers, going through stages based on a movie set, and that's why we have very different phases, in forests, in oceans, in a futuristic place, among many others. The similarities to Sega's console version end there. If in the game for the Sega Genesis the developers sought to add a more adventure feel, focusing on the unique powers of each of the characters, here, in the game released for the Super Nintendo, the challenge is to get out of each stage alive, whatever the cost. We can control any of the three characters at any time, switching them easily with a simple press of a button on the controller. As far as gameplay is concerned, they are totally equal to each other. None of the three brothers has any special power or characteristic, and the way to control is the same among all, which leads me to believe that, in practice, they serve as lives to go through the phase. Ah yes, we can stack the three to reach some higher places, but nothing too necessary. It is possible to go through the entire game with just one of them, if you are skilled enough for such a feat. The game resembles a beaten up in terms of movement, as we can walk up and down a plane on the screen, unlike pure 2D games, like Mario for example. This move makes the Super Nintendo version much more comprehensive, with much more exploration than usual. In the game we find coins, adding a certain amount. We open a bonus at the bottom of the screen of the slot type that grants points, lives and other little things. It's true that it's not a big deal, but it serves to spice up the gameplay and force the player to collect a lot of coins in the scenario. The game's graphics are great. Very colorful, the stages are very varied, with very different moments from each other. At sea, for example, we can walk on rafts and barrels, while dodging hungry sharks. In the forest, a huge gorilla tries to grab the poor brothers at all costs, while on the streets the already famous guard tries to recapture the three and send them back to the Warner's water tank. The sound has the classic songs of the cartoon with some welcome news, always maintaining the quality from the beginning. I dare say that the Super Nintendo version has much better music than the Sega Genesis version. Animaniacs is not an easy game, despite how it looks. Each leaning on the enemy takes a Warner brother back to the water tank, which forces us to go to it across the map to save the poor thing if we want to have a better chance of passing the levels. This can get tiresome after a while, as losing one of them is pretty easy thanks to the gameplay and the amount of enemies on screen. Practically everything kills you, but it doesn't reach such a ridiculous level as how much, about the immortal, for example. To conclude, I would say that it is a game made to have fun without any commitment. It's funny, full of scenes based on the cartoon, and it's not too long, which helps the game not get boring. In summary, as a very good quality, the game features very neat graphics and very well-made melodies. Badly, we can mention that the three characters are identical in gameplay. Final grade, 8.5. Review written by Cosmio and published on the Revolution Arena website.